Hey, Jamie.
Oh, what am I up to? Just visiting a special secret client. I can't say who it is, but let's just say she bundled her dream house and her dream car for round-the-clock protection with Progressive.
Oh.
She has another house in Malibu. She's been an astronaut, an architect, a CEO.
We're in front of her house, dude.
Well, I'd love to tell you who her boyfriend is, but I don't think I can. I'd love to tell you, but I don't think I can.
Marty, in theaters now.
And we finally made our way here to the 404. Beautiful Atlanta, Georgia Tech, man. It's good to be here, right?
Yeah, but where do you got us, bro? Where are we?
I think we're near the stadium, but I'm not exactly sure. Honestly, I don't really know. But, oh, Wes, what's up, big dog?
What's happening?
Man? You good?
How you guys doing, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit lost.
A little lost? These are the West Stands. This is the original stadium built in 1913. The student body, Georgia Tech started their football history playing over at Piedmont Park and other places in Atlanta. In 1913, the students gathered and built these West Stands. Wow. Now they've reconfigured the stadium, done a lot of things through the years, but for the last, 111 years, this is the site of Georgia Tech football.
Wow, it's pretty cool.
And these are the original stands.
Why do you know that?
I did the games, Eddie. Remember?
He's
I did the games.
Years old.
Hey, how old is this guy?
Here we go. Come on, let's go. So, this is Bobby Dodd Stadium at Grant Field. All right?
Oh, I remember.
Same site since 1913. EJ, do you know why he remembers?
You might have caught a touchdown or two here, huh?
Only 16 years ago.
80-yarder.
Stay tuned. Day 3 of the ACC Network Football Tour from Atlanta next. Well, and not only a new coach, but new stuff on the walls. That's all part of 2023 here in Midtown Atlanta. The 107 All-Americans are celebrated here at the Georgia Tech Football Center. And there is Megatron in the gold and white. And we're inside the John and Mary Brock football facility, which is, as you can see, behind the left field wall at the McNeese Ballpark and adjacent to historic Rose Bowl practice field here in Midtown Atlanta. It is day 3 of the ACC Network Football Tour. Day 1, Tallahassee. Day 2, Raleigh. Hot, humid August Atlanta for day 3. Eddie Royal, EJ Manuel, great to see you guys. You okay, right?
I need some water. I love it here in Atlanta. It's good people, good food, but it's hot. Take me home.
But look, it's training camp. It's supposed to be hot. The guys are flying around. There's a bunch of sweat flying around.
Right.
We're not playing no more.
I know, but hey, I enjoy it. I like smelling the grass, even though we're on turf right now.
Yeah.
It's good to be here.
Well, it is practice 8 for Brent Key's Yellow Jackets, who, of course, open on a Friday night just down the street from where we are at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And Brent Key's going to join us coming up on the set. Also, tight end Dylan Leonard, who's a 4-time academic All-ACC selection, will be mic'd up with defensive backs coach Travaris Tillman, a former captain here in the late 90s. He's part of this new coaching staff. And Eddie hops into the film room with a preseason choice, and that's All-ACC safety LaMiles Brooks. But when you talk about Key's first full year, we mentioned the Friday night game against Louisville, South Carolina State, and then Ole Miss and Wake Forest, Eddie, and I'm not even to October yet already.
No, it's going to be a tough stretch to open up, and Louisville being the first game is great motivation in camp. It's awesome for these guys to look forward to something. A lot of competition already at the quarterback spot, a lot of other positions. It's good for them to have Louisville's momentum going in.
And what a great opportunity for Coach Key to start his tenure as full-time head coach here in Atlanta.
Yeah.
You're going to have your fan base there. You're playing a solid Louisville football team that's also coached by a new head coach and Coach Brom. So I think that's a great opportunity for them to start their season with the win potentially and move forward throughout the year.
But EJ and Eddie, one thing has been clearly noted since he got the job in December. You saw a little bit of it in the spring, but in the day and a half we've been here, Brent Key's passion, intensity, enthusiasm for this program is unmistakable, Eddie.
You say that right as he's yelling at a player. I don't know if y'all can hear it. They might have had to bleep out a couple words, but I mean, that passion is everywhere. I mean, he's going to come on set, and you can tell his energy, his everything about Georgia Tech. He loves it, he bleeds it. I mean, he's got some former players on this staff that he played with, so it's awesome to have him here back at Georgia Tech.
And just having a chance to talk to some of the players.
Yeah.
the relationship that Coach Key has built with these guys, the trust that he's built with these guys, now that he's the full-time head coach, that goes a long way, because as a player myself, when I knew I could call my coach if things were going wrong in my life off the field, or if I've been to dinner and had lunch with coach, I knew there was a different type of relationship. So you can kind of run through a brick wall for that kind of guy. So I think that's a great decision by Georgia Tech, keeping him as a head man.
All right, but the storyline and the biggest one facing from a personnel standpoint is clearly the quarterback battle that's taking place. And that is Zach Pyron, of course, who won a road game at Virginia Tech last year before getting hurt in a Miami game, and a guy who started a half dozen ball games at College Station last year. Haynes King came in here in the spring, and EJ, this is neck and neck through the first 8 practices.
Absolutely, and for a reason, because watching these two quarterbacks today, they're both extremely accurate. They both show a lot of leadership, but I'll start with Zach Pyron. To me, he has a very quick release. When I watched him in the spring game, I liked what I saw. He's a young quarterback. He was a true freshman last year. But those 3 starts he had, I felt like he had an opportunity to really get his feet wet and show himself that he can play at this level. Now, he's a solid playmaker. He can take off and run, make plays with his feet if things break down. But the accuracy that he showed on all 3 levels, whether it was a short pass, an intermediate pass, or a deep pass, I think will give him position to compete for this starting spot.
I love what I see from, like EJ said, the command that he has in the huddle, just watching him out there. As a receiver, you know what you're getting from him. A guy like Malik Rutherford, he's played with him.
Yep.
They've got experience, lit it up in the spring game together. So if I'm Malik, that might be the guy that I'm leaning towards just because I'm comfortable with him.
And Haynes King coming over from Texas A&M, played for my old football coach, Jimbo Fisher. So I know he's been coached hard. I know what his expectation is for himself as a player. But now he has a new relationship with Chris Winkie. Yeah. Another excellent quarterback himself, but also a great tutor of the position. I think the thing for Haynes King, when you watch him, he makes the routine throw look easy. And that's a huge component as far as a quarterback that's in a competition. You want to make the routine plays. Don't try to force the football in there and have a lot of turnovers. You'll keep your offense in a good position.
All right, here's the element, though. We talk about the quarterback position. They've got Travion Cooley, Dante Smith at the running back spot. You mentioned Malik Rutherford. Dylan Leonard's here. A couple of transfers in terms of pass catchers. The unknown at the skill position is also a commodity in this. But maybe for the first time in a few years, continuity in the offensive line is the quarterback's best friend or this competition's best friend.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to have a solid offensive line because that's how you win games. I mean, throwing the ball is great to score points. I just heard a quote, and you run the ball to win games. And I truly believe that no matter who wins this quarterback job, they need those guys up front to play well. That kind of feeds into Zach Pyron, but if the offensive line isn't as good because he's a great runner, but this offensive line is going to be a strength of this team, and that running game is going to be as well.
And here's the beauty of it for those quarterbacks. Your head coach is an ex-offensive line coach. So you can bet the O-line is going to be ready and held accountable if they don't protect you and make sure that they'll give you opportunities to throw the ball down the field.
Stats are the tale here, and we know how volatile the landscape of personnel can be in college football, right? Only one of the top 5 receivers, one of the top 3 rushers, and the top 3 tacklers are gone. I mean, they bring back only 1 proven rusher, 1 proven receiver, and none of the top 3 tacklers.
Great opportunity.
Yep. Yeah. And so Key's got his work cut out for him, but again, that passion, intensity, enthusiasm, it's really interesting to watch.
If that spring game is any indication of how this offense is going to be, they're going to be explosive, and they're going to be scoring a lot of points.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Well, we got plenty to go here from Midtown Atlanta. This will be a full hour of coverage as we catch up on these Yellow Jackets. And, well, as you may already know, Brent Key has already indicated to us. You guys remember this. I don't know why we're talking about this quarterback battle. I really don't.
You're the quarterback, I thought.
3 weeks ago, Key told you folks who the starting quarterback was going to be.
The starting quarterback for 2023 for Georgia Tech will be Wes Durham.
Can you say 2nd and 12, 3rd and 14, punt team, let's go?
Kind, I think.
That's what I can say. If you bring Durham in over here, that punter's going to be exhausted.
I got you. We've got a...
Thank God for the transfer portal.
Yes. Maybe if he comes available, maybe we'll pick him up. I don't know.
Touchdown, Georgia Tech.
Sims, deep, end zone. Touchdown, Georgia Tech.
Got those gold jerseys popping over there because it's gold for the money.
That is caught at the 30. Down the sideline, McCollum.
Tech, and the Ramblin' Wreck pull in front. What a win for Georgia Tech and interim head coach Brent Key.
No one knows what these kids have been through the last 2 months, and they've never stopped. They don't stop working, they don't stop playing, they don't stop believing. God, I love these guys.
Well, and they never did stop. 4-4 with Brent Key. You see the improvement offensively. Later in the show, you'll see the defensive improvements. They were better just about everywhere in those final 8 games, and now the first-year full-time head coach of the Jackets joins us here inside the Brock practice facility, and we welcome Brent Key here because in reality, you said they never stopped trying. They always worked hard. That was when you were the interim guy. It seems like it's become a paramount, though, to your first season here.
Yeah, it has. I mean, it's knowing how to work hard, working hard, really different things there. I mean, it's you think you're doing something as hard as you can do until you actually exceed that next boundary and keep pushing it further and further. And that's what you hire good coaches for, and coaches you trust, and really to deliver the message that you have and get it to the kids. And our message is developing a tough physical football team that's disciplined, and we're going to push them hard every day while being safe with them and managing kind of their workload. But at the same time, we've got to practice, and we've got to practice the way the game's played.
How do you find that balance? Because like you say, you do want to be tough. You're an old line guy. How do you find that balance?
Hire good people around you. I've got the guys on the field are the ones that get all the notoriety and people talk about, but we've hired some really good people off the field that have a lot of experience coaching. Head coaching, assistant coaching at the high school level, the college level, coaching in the pros. Being able to lean on those guys, we've got a really strong. We've been able to, with the resources that President Cabrera has given us, being able to invest heavily into analytics and sports science research. That's important to us. And then you got to go with your gut. So the combination of all of them, the people around you that can put the bug in your ear, the sports science, but also then the gut feeling that you have to have. It's a combination of all of them, and that's what we do every day.
Well, Coach, with your background as offensive line coach, you have an interesting perspective of the quarterback position because you guys have to work hand in hand with protections, run fits, all that kind of stuff. What type of qualities do you look for in a starting quarterback?
Well, toughness is number one. The mental toughness that the quarterback position has to have. To go through, to be able to deal with the external factors that go through the season, as you know, it's not an easy thing, whether it's a good or bad game. There's always going to be negatives out there, and you want a guy that has a mental toughness to him, that the players around on the team can rally around, and someone you can trust on the field. I mean, yeah, you got to deliver the football, you got to be accurate, you got to throw on time. You have to make the throws, make the checks, but as an O-lineman, you want to be in sync with that quarterback, and you want to be on the same page when it comes to the protections and the run game. And when that happens, you really do. When you have a seamless unit there, now you've really built a lot of confidence in the team.
Now you talk about quarterbacks a lot. They're getting a lot of attention. Like I said, you're an offensive line guy. How's that running game coming along so far?
We're going to run the ball. Did y'all see the twitches during the spring game? Buster's throwing it 65 times out there. I started twitching out there. So, no, it's a balance. Not a 50-50, not a 60-40, not a 40-60. It's what fits your personnel. Yeah. And we've got some guys we feel like can be some playmakers in this league out on the perimeter. So we're going to be able to get the ball in their hands. But there's a lot of different ways to do that. But at the end of the day, when it's 3rd and 1 and everybody knows you're running the football, you got to be able to run the football. Yeah.
Brent, not many guys. I mean, we said at the top, you're the 6th alum to be the head football coach here. There's an intentionality about that for you. You talked about it when you were the interim guy, and certainly it's kind of premeditated now in your first full season. What's that build-up been like now that, hey, this is my program? You talked about the staff, the players. There's a responsibility here I know you don't take lightly.
No, I don't. This place means the world to me, but at the end of the day, you're not judged by feelings, you're judged by the scoreboard, and we know that, and we're very aware of that. So, the work that goes into it, it is intentional. There is a reason behind everything, and we take a lot of time and we take a lot of pride in it. And we've got a staff full of guys that feel the same way, whether they played here or didn't play here. And there's challenges at every place that you go and that you coach at, but to have a little bit of knowledge and prior knowledge of the things that are pluses and minuses that people usually recruit against. In recruiting, be able to head those things out before somebody brings them up. Those are all things that as a staff we're very aware of and we work on all the time.
Well, Coach, every training camp you kind of have a feel, and you guys are 8 practices in, the strength of your team and the weaknesses of your team, the things you have to work on, and the parts where you feel pretty good about. What position group do you feel best about right now at this point in camp?
Really, none of them right now. We're not playing tomorrow. We've got a long time before we play the first game. Like I said, it's practice 8. There's a lot of fundamental things we have to improve on. There's a lot of things in each unit, special teams, offense, defense, we have to improve on. It's hard for me to look past today, unless it's planning out tomorrow's practice schedule. So, the way the evaluation, the way I evaluate the positions, and the way we get together as a staff and watch it. Look, the expectations do what's right. And we tell the kids that, this isn't where you're going to come in and sit in a meeting and they're going to be told everything they did well and shown on film. And that's the expectation. The expectation is to do the things right and to do what you're coached to do. Our job is to point out the mistakes and to fix the mistakes and correct them.
Coach, you say you want to look past today, but eventually you got to start game planning for week 1. When will you introduce that to the players?
A week before the first game.
Okay.
We've strategically mapped out when our off days are. You get the peaks and valleys in the season, through training camp. And really the whole build-up is when we play on September 1st to have your team playing as fast as they can. But I'm not a believer in introducing something 2 weeks early. I mean, now it gets stale. I mean, you never practice for a team in the season for 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. So, it becomes stale. It becomes, the routine is not, it's not fresh or new for them. So a week before the first game, we'll get out there and start going.
All right. You told me a long time ago you kept notes from every meeting you've ever been a part of as an assistant coach. Like every meeting ever. How much did you go back to those notes before this practice started, this practice season started? Or how much did you go back in the offseason and look at those notes to kind of say, okay, this is what I've been waiting for?
Yeah, so I have yellow tabs on every page, kind of with the point in the year. The date is on the front, the date the notebook started, the date the notebook ended, and then tabs out of every, whether it's week 1 of the season, 2, 3, 4, 5, whether it's spring ball, and every notebook I have. And so what I did was I combined all those together based on the time of year that they were, and that way I can just flip to where that page is, go back through. It's been a tremendous resource for me to be able to take those things, the daily schedules from camps for the last 18 years, and put all those things together. And I was constantly writing down the things I liked, the things I didn't like, the things I would change. And then it's, well, what fits here? Yeah. What are the things that fit here? So they've been a tremendous resource to be able to build this thing, which I believe is the right way.
Well, you know what else we found out in those notes? His time with us is now up.
You got to get back to work.
O-line Indy's still going on, right?
No, we're good. Yeah, so we're good. We filled our gap.
I'm going to go back and be Coach Wade's GA right now.
All right, and what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at Brent Key's staff. He talked about the intentionality of it. Here are those coordinators we talked about. Kevin Shear, Buster Faulkner joined Chris Winkie and Andrew Thacker. And in fact, we've got Buster Faulkner wired at practice.
Now run through the catch. Good. Stick, high angle. High angle. Make sure we're finishing everything with the burst, right? That's what we're looking for. Composed. Very good. Great day yesterday. Great. Stacking days. You got it. Continue to get better. Hunter, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Take it. Hurry up. Take the field. Take the field. Attack the ball. Good read. He's got to attack the ball. Get behind your pad. Protect that football. That's it. Ball security is job security. Now let's go. Now let's go. Good time. Good. Let's go. Next 2 up. Hop up there. Let's go. You should never jump. Good. I like it. Take responsibility. Love that kid. Snatch it, Avery. Snatch it. Oh!
Our thanks to Georgia Tech for helping us with Buster Faulkner. There is Chris Winkie, a Heisman Trophy winning candidate who handles the quarterback. The decision process, obviously, he'll help be a part of. But EJ, a valuable piece of what Georgia Tech's trying to build here.
An extremely valuable piece. This is his 2nd year as the quarterback coach, so you already know he has a great rapport with Zach Gibson and Zach Pyron, and now the relationship that he's building with Haynes King. But I had the chance to work out with Chris Winkie when I was coming out for the NFL draft. Was also Ryan Tannehill there with me when he was at IMG.
Right.
And he's an intense guy. He's all about the details. He loves to coach ball. And I grew up watching him as a Florida State quarterback, and we're part of that fraternity there at FSU. But just getting around him and kind of learning from him, the small details. These quarterbacks are so lucky to have somebody like Coach Winkie because he's definitely going to make sure they're dotting all their I's, crossing all their T's, and also the situational parts about football are going to be extremely important throughout the season.
Yeah, he's going to have high expectations for those guys. One, because he had them for himself.
Right.
And then those guys are going to trust every single word that he says because he actually did it. He lived it. He's been in their shoes, so he understands where they're coming from. And also as a receiver, I'm thinking if I had a quarterback, offensive coordinator who was a Heisman Trophy winner, I'd be picking his brain about every little thing that he's looking for in a receiver because he was around some great ones.
Well, that's an integral part of what was a very intentional process, as you heard Brent Key tell us a moment ago. We've still got more to go on day 3 of the ACC Network Football Tour here from Midtown Atlanta. Don't forget, Packer and Taylor are back in the basement Friday afternoon, 4 o'clock. They will get you up to date on the week in the ACC, update you a little bit on our tour progress as well. In fact, Friday is the Clemson show, I think, that follows ACC PM. When we come back, we'll visit with Dylan Leonard, one of the outstanding tight ends in this Georgia Tech offense, who's a 3-time academic All-ACC and comes from a football family. We'll talk with him and more as the ACC Football Tour rolls on from Rose Bowl Field in just a moment.
It's 24-21. Ball from under center. Sets, throws. Johnson's there. It is touchdown! Touchdown! Calvin Johnson! Son of a gun! He has absolutely lived up to the legendary billing. And with 11 seconds left, Georgia Tech has taken the lead. Are you serious?
That was Calvin Johnson's first ever college football road game. Wow. 3 touchdown games. Huh?
Beast.
Yeah.
Beast.
How about that, right?
Beast.
Pound for pound, I think the best player ever to play here, Calvin Johnson, with E.J. Manuel, Eddie Royal, and Dylan Leonard has joined us here on the set. We took him away from the punt period of practice here, EJ.
Can't believe I got out of that.
Yeah, I know. 38 career games. You come from a football family. This is important to you.
Yes, sir.
So what's it been like in this transition for Brent Key in his first full season with Dylan Leonard?
You know, it's been a a long journey. You know, obviously I'm my 5th year now. We've had a lot of ups, a lot of downs. Not the standard or expectation that anybody expected here the past 4 years. You know, we had little momentum going into the last season, and Coach Key's, harped on that. He's done a lot of great things this offseason. So looking to keep that going, have a season worth remembering this year.
Well, Dylan, I want to know a little bit about your background. I know you're from Milton, Georgia,
Yep.
state champions. You just told us that when you got hit to the set, about 30 minutes
Yes,
away
sir.
from here. Have you always played tight end?
Nah, so I was like tight end / mostly receiver in high school. I was 85 pounds, I think, my senior year of high school, so I was small. And obviously, being that small, coming as a tight end, they didn't have a scholarship for me. I walked on here, put on, 30, 40 pounds my first year here, ended up getting a scholarship after my first semester here. Ended up playing every game my freshman year. So it's been a wild, humbling and blessing journey for me to where I am now. And I'm just excited that I'm able to come out here and play for my boys on the 5th year and come out here and win.
Talk about a journey. I did some digging.
Yeah.
Checked out your Instagram and saw you went to Children's Hospital.
Yeah.
And the caption was just bigger than football.
Yeah.
Why is it important for you to do things like that?
Yeah, so I went back with my buddy Cole Newber, who kind of set me up with that first. So we went back, I think, before last year, and I actually made a special connection with this kid, and he ended up coming up to like 5, 6 of our games, and he was battling cancer at the time. And thank God, he's finally back to being a normal kid, and it's just kind of connections like that are so cool. It puts things into perspective, when we're out here going through hard times, these kids are going through 100 times what we're going through, and they're still coming out with a smile on their face, just happy to see us. So it puts things into perspective, and it's a really, really cool experience.
Dylan, your success is not just football, it's also academics.
Yep.
I mean, this has been a great fit for you, it feels like, from an academic perspective. Now, you mentioned the transitions and everything. One of the biggest is one we started about at the top of the show, and that's the quarterback position.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's going to be new. Zach did some really nice things for you guys a year ago. Haynes obviously has come in here as a transfer. What's that been like for you guys offensively?
It's first off, it's a hell of a battle. I've been asked that question a lot. What do you think about the 2 quarterbacks? Honestly, I can't sit here and say it is truly a really competitive battle.
Yeah.
And both those kids have the great mindset. They're both scrappy kids that really want to go out there and win hard-nosed. So either way, which way it goes, I'm going to ride with either quarterback that's in there. They're both incredible players, and I'm looking forward to see, who wins that battle, and I'm rooting for both of them.
Well, Dylan, as a fifth-year player here at Georgia Tech, you've been through a lot.
Yeah.
You've been here with the transition of you guys going to more of a spread-type offense. Yeah. Obviously, last year, Coach Collins gets fired. Coach Key's the interim head coach. You guys whip off 4-4. That's pretty good to finish the season like that under an interim head coach who's now the main coach. What changed for you guys mentality-wise?
It's tough to say. I would say there was a new spark of energy within the locker room. Just speaking for me personally, I know everybody else feels this on the team. Key was there the first year I was there. He's been my dude, along with other coaches since I've been there. He recruited me out of Milton. So a lot of kids love Coach Key, and I think that's what did the spark for us. And you see when the hiring was up in the air and who was going to get hired, there's tons of kids treating out, make Key head coach, which I had to test again to how much all these players and my teammates have respect for Coach Key, not only as a coach but as a person, just because he created relationships with a lot of us. So I would say that was the biggest difference, and we're just excited to have him behind our back, coming into this year as well, and see what the full season will see.
Now, man.
I know, it's right around the corner.
Dylan Leonard, thanks for the time today, and unfortunately, back to practice.
Yeah, here we go. Let's get it.
Thanks, Dylan.
Appreciate y'all.
Every Saturday, all fall long, ACC Huddle is on the road, and we're going to start in Blacksburg on September 2nd for Old Dominion's visit to Lane Stadium at Worsham Field. Enter Sandman, the whole 9 yards on a Saturday night. That'll be a great night for the ACC Huddle and our coverage of ACC primetime. Of course, traditions are a huge part of Georgia Tech, and one that's been glaring now for, well, heck, more than 50 years, almost 60 years now, is the Ramblin' Wreck. A Model A Ford that has led the Jackets on the field for every home game since 1961. Here's a dive into how it came to be.
So Georgia Tech's Rambling Wreck was always conceptual because, again, the history of engineering within the Institute. The second part that developed behind that was, oh wait, now we got a car?
We had a dean come in, Dean Jim Dahl, and one day in 1960, he found a 1930 Ford Coupe parked right out in front of by his door. It was beautifully restored, so he left a note and asked him how much he wanted for it. He wanted $1,000. He said he asked Bobby Dodd for it, and Dodd took the money out of his pocket. That's what he told me, literally. So they paid for the car, and that became the Rambling Wreck officially. And that's what we have today.
The horn is kind of like one of the most distinguished factors of the wreck. I'm a part of the Ramblin' Wreck Club, which is a club on campus composed of a variety of different students who all have one thing in common, and that's their love for Georgia Tech and the love for the wreck and traditions. Every year we elect one person to be the driver. I was elected by the club. I'm the only one who can drive it for this year, and have just been very grateful that they trusted me with such a position and honor. The car, I think, reflects a lot of things for the students, but it also does reflect our engineering background. Maintaining a 1930 is not an easy task. We wash the wreck every week. We make sure that her oil is good, radiator fluids, spark plugs are clean. Everything's just kind of ready to go and ready to run. The wreck has been leading our football team onto the field since 1961, and it has not missed a single home game. And so there's a lot of, I guess, pressure to make sure that she's still on the field every single game day. I think it's one of our school's richest traditions is the wreck.
People look at it in awe because they know it's been here for a long time. It represents the heart of the school. It is a mechanical mascot. There's no other way to look at it. And they think of it as something sacred.
You come out of the locker room and go into the tunnel, that's when you see the wreck. You're breathing the fumes of the wreck because it's running. Like, this is a car. That feeling that you get standing behind it, it's incredible.
And then when you break through that banner from the tunnel, that's when you get to see all the fans and everyone cheering and screaming.
This is an engineering school. This is a place where some of the brightest engineering minds come to study. And what better representation for an engineering school than, you know, a marvel of modern engineering, which is the automobile. And so it's very much in line with the ethos of the Institute that you have something like a Ford Model A Coupe lead the team out of the field. It represents the past, but it represents something modern as well, and it represents a tradition. And traditions sometimes are harder and harder to hold on to and to keep pristine, but that's a really pristine tradition that is endured and is as good now as it has ever been at GeorgiaTech.
So you got the tradition part down, and when we come back, one of the legends. Georgia Tech won 10 games and beat Notre Dame in the Gator Bowl in the late 90s behind the efforts of safety Travaris Tillman. He's now back on Brent Key's staff as an assistant coach. He'll be mic'd up and joining us next from practice here in Atlanta. Plus, Eddie Royal with preseason All-ACC safety LaMiles Brooks in the film room. All that and more when the ACC Network football tour in Atlanta continues in a moment. Well, here in Midtown Atlanta, we're sitting about 2 miles from Ebenezer Baptist Church, where Martin Luther King Jr. and his father were preachers. Recently, some Atlantic Coast Conference students took a trip to Washington to learn more about Dr. King and African-American history.
This is about us coming together. We live in a world that's divided. And there's something powerful about uniting.
Yeah, we're all competitors, but at this trip right here, right now, like we're all one, we're one family. We're all going through this trip to, you know, connect and unify and really understand the history that's in here in Washington, D.C.
I was blessed with this opportunity to go to the African American Museum, and I have no words to explain it. It was a necessity. I needed to see this.
This is history that nobody really wants to talk about, but yet it needs to be talked about.
One of the things that I feel like I wish I would have done a long time ago was learn more about Black history.
Walking down to the Lincoln Memorial, I was really thinking about my grandma, my grandpa for sure, because they were there, and I feel like I owe it to them that I get to experience this and really step into their shoes.
We all come from different backgrounds and different races, genders. You gotta be open-minded and listen to other people and have that respect for others.
It makes me want to do more. You know, athletes typically don't represent anything except athletics, and I feel like I have been called to action.
Well, you saw the Jackets' #1, LaMiles Brooks, at the tail end of the piece on the ACC Unity Tour. Well, earlier today here in Atlanta, he got in the film room with Eddie Royal to go over some plays from last season.
Joined here with LaMiles Brooks, Georgia Tech All-ACC defender, led the team in interceptions, 4th on the team in tackles, big-time player. We're going to watch some film, but first, I want to ask you about your charity work. Why is that so important to you?
You know, growing up, I was kind of taught to inspire before I expire. I like to, you know, impact people's lives, put smiles on faces. You never know who needs it in a time of trouble and things like that. So just being able to be a good person to somebody else is major in my life.
Man, I love to hear that, man. But now y'all see the type of person he is. Let's see the type of football player he is. We got some tape right here. It's 3-by-1. You're going against Pitt right here. What are you thinking right here? What's the defense? What are you guys seeing?
So we're in a man-to-man coverage. You know, everybody has their own man. Myself as well as my nickel, KJ Wallace, we kind of noticed that the number 2 and the tight end were in pretty close proximity. So the way we kind of pre-snap communicated it was more of like a 2-on-2. Instead of, you know, playing a man-to-man, they could try and pick and rub us, as a lot of teams would try to do. So I kind of saw the in-breaking route of number 14 there, and I let my instincts take over after that. And, you know, as soon as I got my eyes back to the quarterback, I saw ball was going. So I kind of sloughed off my man and tried to, you know, be as physical as I could to get the ball out.
All right, because the offense actually has a great play call. You guys are comboing this thing. Indeed. You take the inside guy, he's going to take the outside guy. So what they're doing is they're going to run this inside guy towards him. This outside guy is going to run towards him and put him in a bind. Right. What I love what you do is you realize it's 3rd and 5 where the sticks are, and you realize what the quarterback wants to do. So you get your eyes on this guy, and you come up and make a play on the ball. And I love the violent finish, right? You break up the pass, the violent finish, that gets your team going right there. I love to see that, just the awareness to be able to come up and make a play when your team needs it on 3rd down. Right here is you got motion coming for UNC. This is Josh Downs right here. You're right here covering him. Big time play for you. He's coming in motion. What are you thinking right now?
So earlier in the game, when I was playing more safety, I had noticed that they would put Josh Downs into the boundary and kind of motion him over to the field. But I had noticed a couple times beforehand that they were kind of using him as a decoy, you know, trying to take the eyes of my nickel and, you know, basically waste a player. So I knew when I got the opportunity to go out there and play some nickel, and I was responsible for guarding Josh Downs, I saw this motion again, and it kind of triggered me back to what I was thinking earlier in the game. So when I noticed that he was going to the flat and wasn't really running a route, I looked back, got my eyes back to Drake May. Noticed he was looking down the field on my side, so I tried to kind of slough off and fill in a window, help out my linebacker. I knew Charlie was out there covering, and, you know, luckily he threw the ball right to me and I made a play.
I love the awareness, because if I'm the coach and I know that that's Josh Downs, one of the most dynamic playmakers in ACC, I'm telling you, get up on this guy so he can't get this pass there. But you mentioned earlier in the game he was just a decoy, so you got your eyes back. I love that, but also the finish. Not every DB can make that play. Right. That's a tough catch right there, reaching back across your body, making a play in a close game, right? This is the game you guys won. You needed that play, and you stepped up big again.
Next time we got to keep the feet.
I love it. I love it. Now, this play right here, you're in the back half of the defense, and this is something you're playing chess with the quarterback. Right. So this is a tough situation. Actually caught a great play. You got a robber right here. This receiver's going to be running across the field, and then this guy's going to be up the hash. It's going to put you into a bind. I love what you do with this movement right here. Correct. It's telling a quarterback that you're taking this guy. But walk me through that and how you played that.
So if you go back just a little bit, you know, they put us in a 3-by-1. I noticed I have a linebacker here sitting inside. He's kind of playing underneath this number 3 here. Mm-hmm. So technically that's my man over top if he runs past my linebacker. Okay. I noticed that it was 4 verts immediately just based off the release from what I had studied. I tried to give the quarterback a nice little bait by completely closing my hips to the number 2 receiver behind me and acting like I was chasing 3. But I had my eyes on the quarterback the whole time. As soon as I saw ball off, I pulled off and got over top of my nickel.
Keep them feet, man. Keep them feet.
Absolutely.
This is a better view of it right here. I love what you do right there. It's telling a quarterback, I'm taking this guy, so this is the guy that he should be throwing to. But yet, chess match again, and you win, you go up and make the play right there. I guess you couldn't have kept your feet, but I love the ball skills, Right. You showed the intelligence, you showed the ball skills, and you showed the type of person you are. I appreciate you joining us. Good luck
this year. Appreciate you having me.
My man.
Yes, sir.
Well, Tavares Tillman was one of the great defensive backs at Georgia Tech. Of course, a captain in the 1999 season. He was a member of a 10-win team in '98 that beat Notre Dame in the Gator Bowl, and now is back on Brent Key's staff after a terrific career in the NFL and a great start to his college coaching career. And we've got him mic'd up here on the practice field today. T-Till, how are you, my man?
Doing good, man. It's a little warm right now, but I'm doing well.
All right, now here's the first question. EJ and Eddie, I told you I was going to ask this. How many of these guys know how good a player you were, Tavares?
Like I told you earlier, man, they got to go pull out some VHS. They got to go pull out some DVDs. It's hard to find me on YouTube.
Hey, coaches, this is Eddie Royal. Receiver coming from you. I want to know from the spring game what happened. Them boys lit y'all up, so I got to talk a little bit of trash.
I'm going to tell you right now, we had 2 defenses we could use. I don't know if you caught that. We only had 2 defenses. We had cover 3 and cover 2. All right, and that's the only defensive strategy we used. So
where did that come from? That was Coach King?
Hey, check this out. We have an offensive head coach. We got an offensive head coach, so you tell me that. Hey, Coach T, I always had offensive head coaches in college myself, man. So I understand your frustration there. But when you look at Miles Brooks, the safety had a great season last year and returning this year. Where has he improved the most throughout the spring and now in the fall camp? Man, just his preparation. He is a pro already, so whoever gets this kid on the next level is going to get a good one, man. He almost knows what the offense is going to do before they do it. He can run, he can hit. I mean, he's a total package, man. He's a leader, one of the leaders in the room, man, and I'm just so fortunate to have him.
Coach, you spent a lot of time around Mel Tucker. How did he make you better as a coach?
Oh, attention to detail, man. Attention to detail, and just the preparation he took every day, to get his guys right. And he's a guy who's hard on his players, but then again, he has the ability to relate to them and get the best out of them.
All right, and our thanks to old number 26, Tavares Tillman, who joined us mic'd up here at Georgia Tech's practice. I got a couple of offensive guys. We're going to talk defense because with Brent Key for those last 8 games, EJ, Georgia Tech got better in a lot of categories.
Yeah, they absolutely got better. I mean, you see on the 3rd down percentage, getting off the field on defense, getting that ball back to the offense, allowing those guys more opportunities to really figure out and gel and see who they're going to be offensively.
Yeah, being good in the red zone is key. You want to stop teams from scoring, and also the turnovers. They caused 16 turnovers, only second to Louisville in the ACC, so that was big as well.
Well, and they lose key guys. We've talked about that throughout the show. The core maybe is back, Eddie, but it feels like defensively, this is where you're going to count on. We saw the Miles Brooks visit with you, but they're going to count on some new guys here.
Yeah, and that secondary is the key. I mean, the linebacker position is really what you worry about. You lose those guys, Ace Ely, Charlie Thomas, a lot of production. They created a lot of negative plays for that defense. So guys like Andre White, Tatum's going to have to step up big for this defense.
Yeah, on the defensive line, when you watch those games that they won late in the season against Pitt, against North Carolina, they got after the quarterback. Right. 6 sacks against Carolina, a team that had Drake May as the quarterback, somebody has a fast trigger. So I'm expecting Sylvain Youngjuin to go out there and have a big season. Also, Machias, Scott, those are the 2 guys in the middle that I think can have a huge impact and create some pressure on the quarterback.
Is it as simple as who will be this year's Keon White to pressure the quarterback? Because a year ago, right now, we didn't know Keon White would be Keon White by the end of the regular season.
I think it's got to be collective, because I don't know if they have that one pass rusher that's going to be the guy. It's got to be a team defense, and it's got to be a mentality. The players change, but the mentality doesn't, so that aggressive, fast-paced defense got to keep up.
Well, I would double down and say Kyle Kennard, another defensive end who could be like Keon White. Keon was the feature guy, the rush player that went in there and got a bunch of sacks, not in the NFL for a reason. Kyle Kennard has the same type of blueprint.
Well, everybody knows Brent Key was here with Jeff Collins, of course, for his administration. Took over in the last 8 games. So was Andrew Thacker. Yep. And now he's that full-time defensive coordinator. And it kind of coincided with Key's interim status a year ago before he got the job in December. Andrew Thacker's defense played better down the stretch. Enough confidence that Key kept him on as a coordinator. That says a lot about their continuity, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you're changing coaches. It's like, I got to trust this guy. I got to trust where this defense is going, and he clearly does.
It's going to be interesting to watch. And, of course, it comes back to the schedule, doesn't it? We've talked about the schedule at the top. The schedule is a real factor for these Yellow Jackets. But so is a guy EJ mentioned, Sylvain Youngjuin. He's going to come back, and we're going to talk about the Jackets' schedule. But Sylvain, can take us to break in more than just English.
Hey, c'est Sylvain Yonjouen et Go Jackets. Salut les gars, c'est Sylvain Yonjouen et Go Jackets.
You might have heard about some changes with ACC football starting this season. Let's break it down for you. Goodbye divisions. Starting this season, all 14 teams will be grouped together in the ACC standings, and the top 2 will advance to Charlotte for the ACC championship game. Going forward, each team has a 3-5-5 scheduling model. Every team will play 3 primary conference opponents annually, preserving traditional rivalries like Florida State Miami, North Carolina NC State, and Virginia Tech. Teams will play the other 10 conference opponents twice during the 4-year cycle, both home and away. That means we will see every ACC matchup at least twice every 4 seasons. The season kicks off on August 31st when Wake Forest hosts Elon on the ACC network. We'll have you covered throughout the season.
All right, Andrea, thank you very much. Of course, Georgia Tech in 1990, the national championship when they beat Nebraska in what was then the Florida Citrus Bowl. That was Sean Jones and William Bell and Marco Coleman, E.J. Manuel. And now the Jackets sign up for what ESPN Analytics thinks is the toughest schedule in the ACC, 22nd nationally, with Florida State, Wake Forest, and Duke also in the top 50. So, you know the slate is difficult. Now we get to the personnel, right? Because when you look at Georgia Tech and the hardest schedule in the ACC, from a personnel perspective, what are their biggest challenges, you think, Eddie?
Getting to the quarterback, that's going to be the thing for me because you're losing Keon White, 7.5 sacks. Even when he wasn't getting to the quarterback with the sack, he was getting pressure on him. And that made the job of the secondary a lot easier. I mean, this secondary is stacked. That is the strength of this team. They got guys 6'2", 6'3" out there playing cornerback, so that's a great thing for them, but they got to get pressure on that quarterback.
Yeah, and those guys that will provide that pressure are Servain and then Kennard and Dowse. Those are the kind of players that can get after the QB, get him off his spot, and make it just a little muddy for him when you talk about the picture looking down the field. And that's where Miles Brooks and company can kind of come up, get that ball tipped up in the air, potentially get some interceptions.
Well, we mentioned the slate here. Go ahead.
Don't leave out a guy, Miles Sims, that I walked past at practice.
Corner.
This all of 6'3", 6'4", and I'm sitting there looking at him. I would have had to go against this guy, so watch out for him this year. He's going to make some noise.
First thing you said when we got here was, how big are these guys in the secondary, right?
Long corners.
Long guys.
Should have played receiver.
Should have.
Well, maybe then I wouldn't have had a job. Maybe they can't catch. Yeah, maybe.
All right, let's go back to this schedule here real quick. We showed you at the top of the program. Obviously, Louisville on the Friday night down the street. Come back, South Carolina State, at Ole Miss, at Wake Forest. I want to start on October the 7th, Eddie, at Miami, Boston College, North Carolina. That feels like if Georgia Tech's going to turn this, EJ, it's going to happen in that month of October.
Absolutely. Well, it starts with Miami on the road, but even the games before that, if you can come in with 3-4 victories, you get to the top half of your schedule where you can start getting into ACC play and be competitive. But again, the main thing is it starts with the quarterback position. If they can have their quarterback, because by that point, when they play Miami, you've had 5 games under your belt. So you're feeling good as an offense. You should be moving like a well-oiled machine at that point. And we know the defense is going to get after guys. So I think they're going to be fine. I think it's going to be a really competitive football team.
I mean, the Louisville game could go either way. Pretty even matchup, right? But I'm looking at the schedule, and I'm like, win the games you should win. South Carolina State, you should win. Bowling Green, you should win. And UVA, you should win. Like, I'm sorry to say that, but they should win that game, right?
Yeah.
So those are 3 games that you should win. And then the key games for me are Wake, Boston College, and Syracuse. Because that's when you figure out what type of team you are. That's the barometer. Okay, where are we at as far as these teams in the ACC? So those are the key games for me.
But what did Brent Key tell us? Run the ball.
Run the ball, yeah.
So the
takes
quarterback,
a lot of pressure off the quarterback.
Yeah, the battle is important, but the ability to run the ball is going to be critical
Absolutely,
for them.
and especially early in the game, or excuse me, early in the season against Louisville. I guarantee you they're going to run the ball 20-plus times, allow those backs to get a bunch of carries, take some of that pressure off the quarterback, which will also create those play-action lanes in the deep third of the defense.
Well, first of all, thanks to Brent Key and his staff. What great hospitality here, huh?
Great hospitality, and I got to give a shout out to Mike Flynn, his staff. They set me up in the strength and conditioning room.
Weight room,
Artist,
got a little lift
Jordan
in.
Diaz. I was able to get a lift in. I ran into my old coach, Marco Coleman, in the gym on Tuesday. So, you know, it's still good to be around the old, you know, a football weight room is different than a regular weight room. When you go in there, you got everything you need.
It's a different energy, too, right?
Music was good. It was awesome.
You've seen Manuel already in Tallahassee. Now you've seen him in Atlanta. He's off to Clemson. Tomorrow, the football tour is headed to Blacksburg. And you know what that means? We go from Atlanta to the New River Valley. Oh, they're rolling out the maroon carpet for Eddie Royal. He'll join Dallin Cup, Roddy Jones, Mark Packer tomorrow night at 7 o'clock Eastern. The ACC football road trip rolls on to Blacksburg. Now in Blacksburg, that's another place where we're going to talk quarterbacks tomorrow, right? Because the Hokies have a quarterback battle. Kyron Drones, Grant Wells, a freshman, I've been told, Pop Watson potentially in the mix, huh?
Yeah, see, that's a guy that
Pop too.
I love him, but nobody's really, I think they're trying to keep us quiet about Pop, but I can't help the
Oh,
excitement.
is Brent Pry going to be mad because I just mentioned Pop Watson?
He might be mad at us, but even the players, they get excited about Pop, so I want to see Pop when I get there.
Pretty good football team on the back end, DJ. Some talented guys. Strong. Peoples return in the secondary. Mansour Delane's back.
Yeah,
I mean, that's some good football players there.
The receivers, though. I'm a receiver, and we got 3 new ones. I can't wait to see those guys in person. Didn't really get to see them in the spring game, but I'll see them tomorrow.
Yeah. Going to be interesting to see what the Hokies have for us, too. Georgia Tech opens on Friday night, September the 1st, down the street at Mercedes-Benz. You say, gotta win, don't have to win?
Go to EJ first, because we're going to argue about this.
Gotta win because, again, this is the first game of the season. And if you ask Coach Key if they got to win that game, he's going to say absolutely. He's going to want his team to go out there with the expectation of winning that ball game, keeping your crowd and your fans that show up in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, to get them to come over here to Bobby Dowell Stadium to watch the team and support them. And I think the only way to do that is by starting the season off with a bang with a W.
I don't agree. It's not a must-win. Stay competitive. It'll help recruiting. Of course, you want to say that, but it's not the truth. They can still get to a bowl game if they don't win that one.
But look, later in the season, there's no divisions in the ACC, so maybe that win against Louisville might help them win the ACC championship.
Eddie's off to Blacksburg. EJ's headed to Clemson. I'll see you next week in Pittsburgh. Thanks for being a part of tonight's edition of the ACC Network Football Road Tour.